talent will open the door, but discipline keeps you in the room. The bigger you get, the better the talent has to be. And the bigger the discipline has to be as company owners and leadership. If you have an employee that you look at and you're like, I'm gonna rate him as a 1. He shows up late 5 times out of the week, which is every day. He leaves early, he's lazy. Every single time that I see him, he's sitting down on his butt and not doing anything. My question to you as business owners, if you rate him as 1, why are you still having him? That should be the first person you let go. Entrepreneurship and owning a business gets super hard is now you have that person that started the business with you, or you have that one person that, man, you love them and you want to keep them, and you're just trying to move them around all these places and they never seem to fit in the puzzle that you're trying to put together. And you would rather not make a harder decision because of some emotion that you have. I love people to death, but I also have to worry about 75 other people as well.
Welcome to the Young CEO Podcast. I'm your host, Kyler Croft. I went from making $250 per week with no purpose to leading a multi-million-dollar business. Now, I help faith-driven entrepreneurs build businesses that honor God and create real freedom. This podcast was built to equip you with practical tools, real stories, and a reminder that you're called to lead starting now. Hey guys, welcome back to the Young CEO Podcast. Today I got another amazing episode about right people, right seat. I got my brother, CEO of Saddlebrook Live, with us today. It's going to be a great one. Let's get it.
So much. I think this is going to be a good one. I think we're going to go over some topics that will not only trigger some companies and business owners of why they're not scaling in 2025, and we're going to go over what we've done in 2025 and going into 2026 that is helping us not only scale but become more profitable in the meantime. Right people, right seat is always so critical when running a business. You both know of how many, when we first started, you hired a talent that, they might have known how to drive a tractor, or they might have known how to build a shed.
Mm-hmm.
But who do we have now that we're building houses?
Right.
It's a whole different level of talent. It's a whole different level of finishing. When you hire a painter to paint an outside versus interior, well, the level of detail goes up.
Mm-hmm.
So the level of talent always has to be better than, the step down or the year before. We have a saying, talent will open the door, but discipline keeps you in the room. And what that means is the bigger you get, the better the talent has to be. And the bigger the discipline has to be as the company owners and leadership to keep those people accountable underneath you.
Same as accountability. When you first start a company, a lot of new business owners, I remember when we first started the company, you as a new business owner, you want to hire your friends. You want to hire everybody that walks through the door because you're trying to grab everything. And I think today's episode is going to be perfect, just because having the right people, right seat, and then who is that talent? What does that talent look like? What does that person look like? What is that person that walks through that door, that interview, how to do all those things? We're going to talk about all that today. Everything that we learned going through the last 7 years of learning who is that talent, and can you get that talent cheap? How much do you have to pay for that talent? Because a lot of business owners are like, hey, I created this company and I'm making a little bit of profit, but now I don't think anybody can do it as good as I can. Let's get into that. About the first topic we want to get into is, how did we figure out having the right people in the right seat that meets your culture? You're building a culture inside of your company. How do you make sure that, because you can get the wrong person, great person, but the wrong person for your culture in your company, and they can, create turmoil and all that. Right. How do you figure out, who's that right person?
Well, I think you have to go into identifying, number one, who's on your bus. Identify who's the talent that you already have. Mm-hmm. And if you're a young business owner and you have 1 or 2 employees, well, that's pretty easy to do. We're going to jump right into number 1 is identify who is your talent that you already have. Are they good enough? You might not know. You might have a rock star that's at the very bottom, but they're buried beneath so many people that they're holding a cap on them that, the law of the live John Maxwell speaks about. You cannot go more than leadership. And that's, directing back at us as well. So identifying who's your talent, number 1, who do you have on your team? You might have some rock stars that you're capping just because you, the leader, are not giving them the opportunity or the keys for them to be successful. It goes into having an org chart, an organizational chart of who's on your team. it starts with the business owner or the CEO. Then it goes to all of your C-suite level executives. Then it's all of your managers and all of your, you could have a vice president, you could have a president, you could have a chief marketing officer, you could have just a marketing manager, you could have, and then underneath that, you have your social media managers, your content creators, and so on and so forth. How do we identify who we have? Well, number one, place them on an org chart in front of you and just write down every person that you, number one, have that you have.
Right.
Then we go through and rate every single employee from the top to the bottom.
From 0 to 10.
0 to 10. How are they doing their job? And there's two questions that we always ask ourselves when hiring people, or I don't like rating people, but you're rating the talent that you have.
The talents.
And you're rating them 1 through 10. Well, if you have an employee that you look at and you're like, I'm going to rate him as a 1. He shows up late 5 times out of the week, which is every day. He leaves early. He's lazy. Every single time that I see him, he's sitting down on his butt and not doing anything. Well, I would rate him 1. My question to you as business owners, if you rate him as 1,
why are you holding on 10?
Why are you still having him? That should be the first person you let go. Or it's 2 questions, right? People write C. If they're the right person for the culture, for the company, ask yourself this. Okay, what seat is he good at, and what seat do I have him at right now? You could have a rock star over in production or over doing a landscaping job, but his social media,
right?
He's got 1 million followers on social media. 9 times out of 10, you probably have the right person because he's a motivator. He's a driver.
Wrong seat.
But if you would just swap him to social media because he's so good at that,
right?
Which all of a sudden, his talent goes to what he's really good at and what he loves to do. You have to sit down with your people and say, all right, what is their goals? Because if their goals fit inside of your bigger goal, then you always help people get what they want first. They'll always help you get what you want later, second. So that's how we start. We put them on org chart and we identify the talent that we have. Because if you don't know who you have, you can't start anywhere.
Right.
You can go out back, or if you have a landscaping or roofing business or a painting business or a plumbing business, and you're sucking wind every month, but you have no idea, employee A might be running their circles around every other employee, and they're actually making you a ton of profit. But then employee D or C over here, say sucking wind, and he's losing on every project. Well, if you only either had employee C train with employee A, 1, or you just replace employee C altogether, now all of a sudden your business is not doing too bad. Business owners like to look at everything's their fault. And we're going to talk about that. Leadership, levels of leadership. How do you set yourself up for success?
That's good. A lot of times what we've learned is when we bring those people in, they bring a resume, but we do that first, let's say we hired them, but you really can't see what that talent's going to be like within the first 90 days. That's why those 90-day reviews, or what we call to come bring them back in the office and say, hey, your performance is down, but you're actually holding that person back from actually scaling. But I was catching what you were saying. A lot of times when you bring, let's say you're an established company, you've been going for 7+ years, you bring another person in, you need to fill a spot. But let's say over here, you had a leader that's been in place for a long time. We call that senior tenure, or whatever it is. They've been here a long time. That leader, but hasn't really grown the team. That leader could be capping the new person coming in from actually growing. So a lot of times within the first 90 days, you figure out who are the people that you have. Are they the right culture? Are they bringing the right value to the company? Are they consumers or contributors? We look at those things. We look at attitude. What are they contributing to the team? Or are they just consuming? Because you just said this person over here could be consuming. This guy could be contributing, which is huge.
And how many times as business owners, this is going to hit you hard, do you know one of your best leaders in the company are the actual ones holding you back? And you try to hire people to be underneath them, but you always stay in
to make them better.
Right. And you look at them and you're like, you want that better for them. You want the success more than they want for themselves, right? Because at the end of the day, they're trying to provide for their family, and they might not care. They might not have bought into the vision that you as a business owner has set in place. is your senior leadership holding you back? And Kyle, what happens to when senior leadership isn't, they were with you from the beginning. They bought into the vision. I want to scale to $2 million. I want to scale to $10 million. I want to scale to $20 million. I want to scale to $50 million. But when they get capped, all of a sudden they're like, no, I think that person's not right for us. Why do they do that? Well, number one, it's just job security. Because if they know
Happens sometimes.
that if they hire a person smarter than them, now their job's on the line too. So they're going to be like, I don't think he's the right fit. He costs too much money. Or what if senior leadership, we talk about talent, hire people that are smarter than we are. Right. I think business owners, at the end of the day, we're actually a little bit dumber than everyone else because of the risk that we take,
Right.
because of everything that we sign for, and with the dreams and ambitions that we have. The smarter people that actually calculate the risk, they're like, it's too much risk for me to do it.
That's why you see a lot of C players in business versus the A players that are working for the business owners because they're too perfect. Versus C players, they go hire the right people. And there's a saying that we say, always hire your weakness. Whatever you're weak at as a business owner, you hire that strength. And going back to senior leadership that's going to place a long time, you're right. They don't want to hire anybody smarter because they're going to be out of a job. There was a podcast I was listening to the other day. There's a CEO that took this company from 10 million to 100 million. And he grew it to 100 million within like 3 years. He did an interview and he says, hey, what is it going to take this company to $1 billion? He says, matter of fact, I'm not the person that is actually capable of taking this to $1 billion because of the capacity that I have. A lot of people they're not growing because they feel like, hey, this is where I'm capped. This is all that I want to do. Their capacity hasn't changed because they're not willing to let go of some things. Because if you want to go to the next level as a leader, you got to be reading books. You're going to have to, it's going to take more responsibility. So you're learning all these different things. I think that's what we've learned is some of those leaders where we'd have to make a hard decision saying, hey, these leaders are actually now holding us back from this $10 million threshold. So now we have some new people that are coming in. They're smarter, they're faster, they're growing faster, they have more capacity, and they're willing to put in the work.
I think the biggest thing that we've learned, being in business together, we do everything together, and it's learning that business owners,
you just got to not be emotional
for everybody. But at the end of the day, we're responsible for not only one person, but everyone on your salary, your contractors, subcontractors, your employee, the health insurance. So we're not only having to think one employee or two employees, we're having to think the whole entire company. What's actually at stake? Is my house at stake? It's everything I have at stake. But then where entrepreneurship and owning a business gets super hard is now you have that person that started the business with you, or you have that one person that, man, you loved it.
And you want to keep them.
And
Yeah,
and you're just trying to move them around all these places, and they never seem to fit in the puzzle that you're trying to put together. Their buy-in is never the cost of your sacrifice you've already made. And you would rather not make a harder decision because of some emotion that you have. I love people to death, but I also have to worry about 75 other people as well.
Right.
You're going to let one person justify the decision that could either, one, bankrupt the company, two, hold it back for a few years, or three, you might not have a company at all in a year. Because of 2025, if you're not making decisions like that, guess what happens?
Right.
The next business owner is hungry enough, he's going to do what it takes.
Right.
And so if you won't make the hard decision, because what's at stake is everything.
Right.
That's where business owners do not understand everything's at stake at every time of the day. There's not just one person that, why are you floating that person? If you know down in your gut that person is not going to take you to the next level, guess what? The reason why companies don't scale is they're so scared of having that one conversation.
Yep. Hard conversation.
In the comments, how many hard conversations had you had in the last 6 months with your employees? And what if it's just accountability that actually, if you as a leader got past the scared mindset of, oh, what if they quit?
Right.
Oh, what if they do that? Or what if What if worse and I lose the company? I would rather lose the company, die trying, than know that I lost the company and that I was not willing to do what it took to propel, not only propel the company forward,
Right.
but to save the company. In 2025, there's more companies going out of business than I've ever seen. Why? Because it's lack of leadership. They have no idea that their decisions are costing the company everything. Why? Just because you can't make one decision on your organizational chart because you have too much emotion when it comes into playing with building businesses.
We have a saying that says, when's the best time to fire an employee? It's the first time you get a feeling that, hey, this employee is not working out, you need to fire him. Going back to that, I feel like when we recently shifted our whole company, discernment's a huge thing. Praying and asking God, making a decision like, hey, I got a bad feeling about the employee, bam, go have a hard conversation and fire him. I don't think that's right. I think praying, having discernment, having wise counsel around you to make the decision, but 100% agree. Lack of leadership is the biggest thing in companies, is because owners are not willing to take ownership because of their bad hire. Because when you hired that person, you thought that person was going to be with you for life. But there's people in your life for a reason, some for a season and some for life. Some people are in your life for a short season, but you thought deep down when you hired them that they were going to be so bought in that they were going to take you to the next level. There's a small handful of people that you will actually take to the top with you. That is exactly what business owners don't understand. And I want you guys to understand today is the things we're going through right now. And what we did go through is having these hard conversations, learning how to have a hard conversation with yourself and saying, hey, these are the things I'm going to keep people accountable to. These are the things that are going to take this company to the next level. Because me and you can play on a mediocre level where we say, hey, we're just good with it. We're just going to let everything fly. Or you can say, no, we're going to keep everybody accountable to a performance level, KPI, that is going to take this company to the next level, because what's on the line?
Everything.
The 100 employees that you have. Everything is on the line. That's what people don't understand. When you build a business, you make your decision based off of one person because you don't want to hurt his feelings. Well, you're actually, by firing him, but you're actually holding him back and his family back by not doing him the service of firing him if he is not actually performing. Because he could be doing better. Let's say he gets another job at another company and then he excels. I love that. Lack of leadership.
And we'll be honest with you guys. It's never hard, or
it's never easy.
Never easy.
It's not fun.
Going into that, 8 months ago, we went through a company reshift. Most of the leaders that we started the whole company with, 8 months ago, we had to, a whole company restructure. Why? It was probably one of the hardest things that we've ever done as, owners, as levels of leadership that we had set in place. We wanted them to go with us to the next level. We wanted them to grow with us. We wanted them to, to learn the leadership that we were going through at the same pace. And I think business owners we're always looking for the next thing. And people underneath you,
sure,
they're, sometimes they're capped out. Sometimes, like you said, their capacity all of a sudden went from 25% when you hired them to now, if they're not growing with you, their capacity now is full. Well, at that time, you're continuing trying to push,
right,
and grow hard, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy, guys. It's always hard. And it's the hardest thing the business owners are going to have to do is having that hard conversation. My dad's been in business for 25 years. To this day, it's his hardest thing he's ever done. Why? Because we want the best for everybody around us. No matter what, if you're coming in as a construction worker for $18 an hour to the very best, I hope everybody makes a lot of money here. But sometimes they don't even want what you want for them.
Right.
They don't see that. They're not hungry for that.
Right. And that's the whole reason we're doing this podcast, is to be honest with you guys. I think, learning the skills we're going to talk about next is the systems and processes of the thing that makes business fun, that makes it easier on building it. If everybody wanted a business, if it'd be easy, everybody would do it. I think what you mean is like business is hard in a sense, but it's not if you have the right talent. Let's get into how do you make business fun? How do you make it easier on yourself as an owner? Because you're going to talk about when a lot of people want to go start a business, but then they create another job. But how does a business owner in 2025 I believe it's one of the easiest times to get in business and to make money, but how you can how you can shift and do the wrong thing, and it's hard, and you're not making any money. How does somebody in 2025 start a business and they make it fun, they make it easier on themselves with systems, process, hiring the right people, and they don't have a job?
You know, if you're one of those business owners that come into the office, and the second that you come in the office, there's a fire here, there's a fire here, and I call them professional firefighters. You know, business owners were always putting out fires everywhere, whether it's a upset customer, whether it's, hey, my materials didn't get on time, or hey, I don't have enough money for payroll this week, my bank's calling me, you know, my wife, I gotta go to a doctor's appointment, but I can't because I gotta take the cruise over here. It's hiring the right people that are smarter than you, the levels of leadership. But when you hire for levels of leadership, guess what they do? They set up systems, they set up processes, marketing, sales, whether it's, construction, production, anything that you do in a product world, in a service world, you have to have a system and a process that your company flows with. Every customer gets treated the same. There's no bottlenecks in the whole entire process. There's no leaks that, hey, we sold this customer, but we forgot about him. So now it's 9 days old. Now the customer's upset because we took his money and he didn't get the service or the product that he wanted. Right? Does it sound familiar to you guys?
No processes at all.
We've been doing that for so long we were growing, but all we would do is multiply the problem. We would never fix the problem, and then all of a sudden it would work great. And the next problem will always seem to find. And, as the managers or your employees, well, guess who they're going to come to? They're going to come to the owners. Hey, what do I hear? What do I do here, Captain?
Yeah.
I can't get my job unless you fix this, this, and this. Or you set up accountability, the levels of leadership that we're talking. Now, all of a sudden, your managers, they start taking care of that.
Right.
They start doing that. They start managing the people that are underneath you. Why? Because with one person, you can only do so much in a day. But guess what? If they do 50% the level at what I could do it for, well, guess what? Now my time's worth 150%. And if I hire another person, now I'm doing 200%. The problem with business owners that I always hear them, well, they can't never do it as good as I can. Well, no kidding.
Right. They don't have they're not the ones that started the company. Why would you even
what are you at that? What are you actually good at?
Right.
You had a dream, you had a vision, but now you're letting the small day-to-day items getting in the weeds affect your ability to grow or hire or train or set the systems and processes up. That's important when you're hiring people. Have they already done that? Have they been where you want to go? That's two things that as business owners, okay, if you hire talent, but they've never been or they've never done or they don't even have the ambition to grow where you want to go. Well, now you're just hiring one bodies that you're going to now have another fire to put out because they won't do their job because they have no idea how to do it in the first place.
Right.
So now you're going to take another 6 to 12 months to train that person and hope and pray that person is the actual leader that you want versus spending a little bit more money, getting the talent. And now, instead of doing a 50% job of how good you could have done it, what if they do a 90% job? As business owners, what if they do 120% better than you did? Had you ever thought about that? If you hired people smarter than you, and now they're better at that job than you, it scares us too.
It does.
Because now, as owners, we don't feel like we're needed anymore.
Why do so many business owners feel like that? Because we went through that where we hired smarter people. Because I said there's a saying that we have: always hire your weakness. Because if somebody comes in, number one, you do the interview, you give them a job description, you train them the right way, you train them on the processes, you teach them about your company, and then all of a sudden you'll see that person, they start growing in the company, they start reading everything about the company, and they start scaling it. They start creating processes. They create a better process. You brought the process to the table, but now all of a sudden you've seen like, hey, he caught 2 bottlenecks, he fixed it, and he made it better. Why is it so hard for business owners? And I believe this is why business owners are failing in 2025, and why they're making it so hard is because they can't get over themselves. They can't seem to get over that they are the only people that can scale their company. Why is it so hard?
people I think want to feel like they're in control. And if somebody, when you hire somebody, the fact gets kind of twisted. You hire people to come in and make your business better, but when they come in, most business owners are like, no, you have to do it my way or the highway. You can't work here unless you do it my way.
So many times.
What if that person was actually smarter than you, can implement and duplicate way better than the system that you have, and only thing stopping you is your ego? Your ego is stopping you from actually scaling your business, because the person that you hired is actually doing what you hired them to do, but your ego won't let them pass you because now you're afraid that they're better than you. Well, guess what? You started a business. Is it that your ego is more important than the bottom line? Is it that your ego is more important than 50 employees? That you always have to be right? No. Your ego has to be dropped and say, employee, if you want,
give them the keys.
Here's the keys.
Give them the run with it. Give up your right to be right all the time. That's one of the big.
It's gonna hurt.
Right.
If they even improve it 25%, guess what that does to the bottom line? Well, guess what that does to your family?
You just hired an A player to come in there to do it better, but then you're actually a ceiling to their success, and you won't let them go because of your ego, and you have to let that go. And that's one of the things we've done is we've let go of that, and we say we want to hire smarter people than us. If we come in that leadership meeting with an idea, hey, leaders, the other leaders, they need to have like, hey, take this, but then make it better. Have a better idea.
Which you hired people that your ceiling was their floor, and they took it from there, right?
Right.
People never think about what other, why did you hire those people? Mm-hmm. Well, most business owners only think that I only hired them to do a certain job, and, they won't ever be better than any of that. Did you ever let your employees know that, hey, this is the actual vision of the company? Mm-hmm. Hey, this is what we need to take it there? Like I said in the very first beginning of this video, of this podcast, is you might have the rock stars in your team, but they just don't know where the company's going.
Where to start, what the mission.
They don't know, if there's no vision, the people perish. What if the only thing that your whole company was lacking is you, the business owner, having a company meeting saying, hey, this is where we want to go. This is the vision, the mission of the company. And all of a sudden you have these people raising their hands. I'm like, I want in. I can do more. Mm-hmm. I can do this. Hey, I actually came and I'm very good at that. Mm-hmm. You never know the talent of the people that you have on your organizational chart, on your team, until you figure out strategies and steps. Luck isn't just luck.
Right.
Luck is sought out and is prepared. You don't just get lucky.
No.
The most successful business owners, entrepreneurs, billionaires, millionaires, they create their own luck. How? Because it's a model. It's a science. Mm-hmm. Business, it doesn't matter if you're in a product-based business, if you're landscaping or roofing or spray foaming or painting, anything that you do. The business models are always the same.
Right.
The operations, the org charts, the systems and processes, the financial charts, whether you're on a cash or accrual, they're all run the exact same way. They might have a little bit different strategies, but leadership and systems and processes always operate at the same level. Okay?
People and processes. And I love that you said that it's hiring the right people. Here's why most business owners are failing right now is because they actually never truly give the keys to that employee and give them ownership. They don't give them the full responsibility, but they expect it. They say, hey, here's your job description, here, do it. But here's what I've seen. Most business owners don't actually give them the full keys because it's their baby. It's their baby, and they don't want their business to go under because they're actually not willing to take that risk on that person. Because when you fully give that key and you say, hey, I want you to take ownership of this. Run it like your business. When you do that, there's another level of business that is unlocked. And then you see them start running off, and you see like your business is growing now because they actually do have talent, because you've give them the keys to actually fail a little bit. Most business owners don't let their employees fail. They get on them as soon as they do something bad, and then they don't never want to fail again, so they're not thinking big. How many times did we let our team fail at something and say, hey, what is something we can learn from this? Okay, build a system and a process around this so you can learn from it. So if you get to this certain point, don't let it break. Build a system that when you have a fail safe to where your employees feel good at making those risks. And when you do that, your company will start scaling. How does a 24-year-old, a 26-year-old like me, how do we grow a business? We don't grow businesses, we grow people. That is the number one thing that we've done since we've started is we hire the right people, we bring the right talent in, we hire the A players because we know that we're the person that has that vision and the ideas, and we have a strong team around us that empowers us to go to the next level. That is what it's all about.
How do business owners in today's world figure out if their business is successful or not? I have one question for you to answer that. If you can leave for 2 weeks and your business not only runs without you, but grows and thrives without you, you don't own a business, you own a job, a job. The very thing that when you started the business you were trying to get away from. 40-hour week, 80-hour week.
Yeah.
This is a job, okay, job. So now you don't even own a business. When you go to town, you don't own a business. I own an expensive job that I owe millions of dollars to because I can't figure out how to grow it.
Right. And that's the moment when you have to know, you have to drop the ego and say, hey, I started this business, now what is it going to take to be the next level? And if you can't put systems and processes around what you built, you've got a job that is taking time away from your family. It's taking time away from living the life that you dreamed about. It's time to rethink the way that you might be in a place where you're 2 years in your business, 4 years in your business, 6 months in your business. But it's the time to think strategy. It's about hiring the right people. And then when you hire the right people, what happens? You get into a winning season. You start winning in business, in life. And I believe over the next 3 years, we're in some of the best years of business. And I've never seen it more easier, more fun, and more profitable in a season that we're in right now. And I see that there's two different levels of businesses that are making money right now. The ones that are new ideas that have the A talent, and the ones over here that are doing it the old way. They can't get over themselves and they just want to stay the same. Those people are going to get left out. But the people that are thinking bigger, they're bringing new people on, they're changing their processes, they're learning, they're growing. They're in a season of winning. And the only thing that me and Colton have to say to you guys is when you hire the right talent, get in a season of winning because it's coming. This is the best year of your life. This is the best year in business. Wait for the next 3 years. It's going to be amazing.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Hey, thank you guys for watching the Young CEO podcast. If this podcast has changed your life, if you're in a winning season, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and like always, we'll see you on the next. Peace out.